Hello, my name is Scott Lobenthal, and this is HangTuf's virtual Chalk Talks. Today we have Andrea Cunningham joining us, and which we're really excited about. Andrea was a former CMU player and Frankenmuth High School softball star, and she is one of our coaches here at HangTuf. She's coached 12U, 14U, and 16U at any given point over the last 3 years here, two and a half years, I guess, approximately. And we're going to kind of run through and we're going to talk about Andrea's softball journey. And, the whole point of this is just to give our players, coaches, and anyone else that we've opened it up to the public to join us, just to help encourage young people to play softball. And inspire them and give them the opportunity and platform to engage guest speakers, just so that they can learn from the process. I didn't get involved with travel softball until my oldest daughter was 12U, and I knew there was a lot to learn coming into travel ball. If you didn't know a previous family that was playing travel, it was hard to find information out there. I know it's a little easier now with social media, but the recruiting process is something that's different for every single player that plays the game. And I think that's one of the unique things about the Chalk Talks, is that each guest has their own experience, their own recommendations, which is great. And then it gives every player an opportunity to kind of learn from that, somebody that's been through that experience, and ask questions and grow. So we're going to get started here, Andrea, and I'm just going to ask you to kind of give us a brief introduction of yourself. I guess just in general. I mean, if I missed anything here up front, but kind of talking about let's say your high school experience, just your experience playing, and and so on.
Yeah, I played high school at Frankenmuth High School, and then I was recruited and I was a late recruit. I didn't sign until my senior year of high school, and then I went and played at CMU. We had a great, my senior year especially was a great year for our high school team. We were state runner-ups that year.
And then
and I played all 4 years at CMU, lettered all 4 years. Wouldn't say I started all 4 years, but I lettered at least in all 4 years.
And then you've gotten involved in coaching since you've been out. I know that
yes,
coached at Frankenmuth. And where are you at right now coaching?
I am an assistant varsity coach at Heritage High School. I coach with one of my former college teammates, Lacey Tollfree. She's now Lacey Kenny. So it's been a fun season so far, and we're looking forward to the rest of it. But yeah, I coached JV for would have been 3 years, but COVID took away my first year. And then I coached JV for 2 years at Frankenmuth. And then Lacey asked me if I would help her out with their program. And I said yes, because we both have very similar coaching styles, and her dad have a lot of knowledge of the game, and it was going to be a step up for me. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And then that's when I got involved with HangTuf, was probably my first year coaching JV. And then I started coaching with you guys that summer, and yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, we love having you as a part of the program, and can't say enough about you and your efforts and volunteering to help and just be a part of the game. So really appreciate it. So when did you start playing ball? And who would you say would be the biggest influence or impact on you when you started playing?
So I actually started playing little league, like baseball. I didn't play softball. They didn't have enough teams for the number of girls that signed up to play. So I think I was like one of 3 girls that played baseball with the boys. I don't remember if it was T-ball. I don't believe it was, but uh, so I would want to say I was probably like 5, and then I actually played up a level every season or year until 16U. I played with the normal age group for that. And then as for inspiration, every coach I had was an inspiration for me to keep playing in some way. My little league coaches, after I think I played 1, maybe even 2 years of little league baseball, but my softball coaches after that, they were actually our neighbors, and their daughter is like my best friend. They were huge in getting me to keep wanting to play and to practice. And then my travel ball coaches after that, and then my high school coach, Coach Walraven, who is still coaching at Frankenmuth, was big. They all had some sort of impact in how I wanted to keep playing the game and wanted to keep getting better and pushing myself.
All right. Yeah, that's great. And it's cool that you started with baseball. I know a lot of women's programs and for young ladies as well in high school and junior softball and so on. There were not a lot of them a few years ago. I say a decade ago, and things have really stepped up in that area.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on it a little bit. Frankenmuth High School, and you were you on varsity all 4 years, and what were some of your personal accomplishments? Obviously, looking through and seeing some of the statistics, I think you set the record for most steals in a season and most steals in a career.
Yes. Unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, because I'm happy someone was able to beat it. I still hold the career for record for stolen bases. However, someone did break my season stolen bases record within, I think it was like 2, maybe 3 years ago. They broke it. So it's a little sad, but also I'm happy someone was able to beat it at the same time, because they had a good year that year too.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what kind
I
sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I actually was not on varsity all 4 years. Freshman year, I was only a pinch runner brought up on weekend tournaments because our JV team, they had a big senior class my freshman year. But our JV team needed players too. So I mostly played with JV, which I wouldn't have changed, because I think that helped me improve as a player and get more ready for varsity. I remember going to a varsity practice and I was like, this is way over my head as a freshman. And I actually remember during a tournament that he pulled me up to pinch run, and he threw me in at shortstop, and I was just like a lost puppy out there. I really was. But then by the time I was a sophomore and I was on varsity full time, like, it was so much easier for me to like move up and be the faster pace of the game and everything like that. So I think technically they gave me a varsity letter for my freshman year, but I think that might have been a mistake, because I was only a pinch runner for the weekend tournaments and maybe a game or two if JV didn't have a game.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That's cool. And then your senior year, you said that you had a pretty special season.
Yes. So our senior year, we made it all the way to the state finals. We had I think we had like 7 seniors on the team, and it was a really close group of girls, even with some of the underclassmen that we had too. And it was a fun season. We'd all been together. I think we'd been together for 2 or 3 years. It was probably the same team that we had as my sophomore year, besides a couple of the underclassmen that were brought up. But yeah, we made a good run. I know our big one was regionals. We played Saginaw Valley, who was always a really good rival for us. And that was huge that we beat them for regionals. And then we made it to quarterfinals and played at CMU actually, and we were just kind of like, what are we doing here? But we just had fun with it, and it was a great. Then we made it to MSU, and it was even more. It was like, wow, we're really here. We're staying in a hotel together. Like it was a lot of fun. It was a tough loss, and it was. I still remember being very emotional about that loss. Probably about as emotional as I got with my last college game. It was a lot of tears, but it was a great 4 years or 3 years on varsity, and I wouldn't have changed anything about it.
Sounds like a great experience.
Yeah, it
So
really
were you,
was.
so were you guys runner-ups in state?
Yes. Yep, we took second to, oh, I'm drawing a blank on the name. I know who their coach is. She comes to the CMU team camp and brings her high school team to that all the time. No, they were a really good team. I know the pitcher that we faced ended up playing at, I want to say, Davenport.
Okay.
So, and they had a really good pitcher that we couldn't hit, and they were a good team. It was a good game, and they were, I want to say they were a better team than us. We were both probably equally matched, but that's just the way the game was that day.
Yeah, very true. It can go, depending on who you're up against, it really makes a difference on the day. So I'm going to touch on travel ball, but how do you think, what age were you when you got involved with travel ball? And then how do you think it helped prepare you for the success that you had in high school and then preparation for college?
Yeah. Travel ball, I would say probably like 8th grade. So I was 13, 12 maybe at the earliest. But I started playing only with a local travel ball team. We were called the Ogama Outlaws. And that was middle school. And we decided that they weren't, since it was just a local team and we weren't expecting a whole lot more than that, but because I found I wanted to keep moving up and get better, they Lily, stop. Sorry, my dogs are trying to get on my lap right now. We decided to change travel teams, and I played with a team. I'm not sure if they're still around or not. Pinconning Thunder, out of Pinconning, and I played with them for 2 years. And they were a good organization. Coaches had a lot of knowledge and everything, and they made it even more obvious to me that I wanted to keep moving up and to keep getting better. They were probably the first, I don't want to say like exposure team, because like at 14U it's not so much about the exposure, but they played in bigger tournaments than what my local team played in. However, during my second year playing with them, unfortunately that team folded during our one of the last or second to last tournaments. And then I played with the Mid-Michigan Fire Sticks from 16U to 18U. And I'd say they had the biggest influence on me as a player, just with the way they ran practices and just and especially, well, they're one of their coaches that was my coach. He was also my assistant high school coach. So he knew me as a player too, and they pushed us really hard. And that got me ready for high school ball and then college the most, honestly. They were I was not as surprised going into college ball as I probably would have been if I'd stayed with, say, Pinconning Thunder or even a local travel team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does, and it helped you grow. And I'm familiar with the other two teams that you mentioned. I don't think the Thunder, I think I saw them a few years ago, but I really haven't seen them around since. But the Outlaws, is it Ogama?
Yeah,
or
Ogama.
yeah,
Yep.
I've seen them around. And obviously Fire Sticks, that's a bigger organization, but it has shrunk a little bit over the years, just with some of the bigger national groups coming into the area.
Mhm.
Um, but just like you were saying before, you took those steps, you're growing, to help kind of get you prepared for like the structure. And it's great that you had a coach, from your high school program that was there. Um, One of the things that I do try to stress to our players, and we talk about it at sometimes, is that you really don't have to be at a national uh, you know group in order to get recruited by D1 or anything else here in Michigan.
Mhm.
As long as you're playing travel ball, I think it helps get you that experience, get you ready. It's the platform right now that colleges are looking to. They're really not going to the high school games anymore,
Mhm.
unless it's going to regionals and like states. A lot of
Right.
times they'll sit on those.
Mhm.
But just giving girls the opportunity to be seen, at these travel tournaments is the key, and especially if they want to go to a school in Michigan and be in Michigan, it's really important to be on teams that are playing in Michigan. And
Mhm.
I, just from my personal experience, I've got two girls that used to be with me, and they went off to a national team, and everybody can kind of pick their poison, just whatever they think's the best thing for them. And as long as the girls keep playing, that's what's in the best interest of everyone. But they paid thousands of dollars to travel all over the country and play, and then one ends up at a Division 3 school in northern Indiana, just across the border, and the
Mhm.
other one's playing here at a local community college. And it's like you didn't need to do that. You could have still gotten good experience. There's a lot of good teams in the area. But I always like to ask our guests, just what their experience is and how they got involved with travel, and how it impacts their experience getting prepared for high school, because it really does. It prepares you for seeing
Mhm.
everything you're going to see in
Mhm.
a high school game. So how did you end up at CMU? Did you go to clinics at CMU, or what was your recruiting experience like? How did you kind of decide and end up at CMU in the long run?
So the first thing that I did, and this was, I want to say, I was probably 14U, maybe I might have been 15, so 16U eligible at the time. I actually went to the blue chip camps. Um, and those were big for me, and then but in a way that I don't think is typical, because we didn't go to like every single one of their camps, but they were what got me in front of the coaches that were interested in me. Um, and the only reason they continued to be interested in me was because I was very on top of sending out my schedules and keeping in contact with them via email. So the blue chip camps were like, they got me in front of the coaches so I could meet the coaches and get to know them a little bit, and they could see what I was capable of. But at the same time, it's not the same as watching me play in a game or a tournament. So I made sure I emailed. Of course, I already had some idea what colleges I was interested in going to. I was not interested in going out of state, so that narrowed it down a little bit for me. And then just the ones that I was interested in for educational purposes was really what helped me narrow it down. Um, but yeah, I would send out emails, and then once I was sure I was on their radar and we had some kind of, I wouldn't say like communication, because I know the rules, like they wouldn't necessarily talk to me unless it was at the camps and clinics. Um, but I did go to a couple. I went to an Alma camp. I went to a couple CMU camps. Um, I want to say I went to an Aquinas camp, or at least I went to an official visit. I remember going to their campus. Um, but that was a big factor in helping me decide as well, as being on campus and seeing what it was going to be like to be there. And honestly, that was one of the big things that helped me pick CMU, was I fell in love with their campus, and I knew that their curriculum they had a lot of possibilities for me for whatever way I wanted to go with my major or anything like that. But and that's what I based my decision on, was more educational than it was just because it was a D1 school. Like if I didn't get a offer from CMU, I probably still would have been going to CMU for school, in all honesty. It just happened that they were
Yeah,
able to find a scholarship for me and offered me a spot.
that's great. That's really good. And it's good, like I know that you and I coached together on 18U, and we talked to our players about, finding the education that you want for the career path that you want to have. And that's
Mhm.
that's primary, that's your primary decision. And then softball, and you can make it work and you find the right place that you can do both, that's terrific. But don't go somewhere where you can't have a career path, and then if you get injured or if something else happens, it's
Right.
gonna hurt you in the long run. So
Mhm.
we definitely promote, going after and focusing on your education, because academics is where you're going to get a lot of your scholarship money playing softball. And
Mhm.
then the other part of it too is, the camps, like you were mentioning, those are the best platforms to get in front of the coaches, and like the blue chip camp, the Lakeshore Storm
Mhm.
camp that they have, and there's a few others. There's probably like 4 or 5 big ones, but
Mhm.
it really draws a lot of college coaches in the area. So you get in front of them, they get to see you. It gives you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the coaches, and then send contact information, just like what you're saying. How you did it. You need to keep emailing persistently. And I've got a few college coaches that I'm fortunate enough to be friends with that do share, their stories, and they'll say this kid was pestering me all the time, just emailing me all the time. And he said that
Yep.
if she is that persistent doing that, then she must have a great work ethic. She must really want to play. So I want to go and see her play. And
Right.
and even if they don't respond, because I think now it's the summer of your junior year where
Yeah.
they actually interact with you, but you can still email and get information out to be seen ahead of time.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And another one thing I'll add to that is to make sure you're not sending out mass emails. You want to make each one personalized to the coach, to the school. Because I know I've heard from a couple college coaches that were like they got an email that was addressed to the wrong coach.
yeah.
And they're like, oh, that player off their list almost automatically. So
and
just
and
being careful,
sometimes
making it personal.
and sometimes too, they'll pay for a recruiting service, and the recruiting service will send the mass
Right.
emails out for them. So then it's even more disconnected. But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying. That's the right way to do it, is the email. And I know some girls will put like a joke in the email, or
Hmm.
something personal about themselves, like you're saying, that they like this, or whatever it may be. But the coaches do grab a hold of that kind of stuff, and it's like, hey,
Hmm.
she looked at my campus, or she knows this major, or this might be a really good fit for us. So that's awesome.
Hmm.
So, moving on. So what was your transition like from going from high school into college? And I know that we talk about this too a lot, which I
Hmm.
really do appreciate our relationship. And I've learned a lot from you, through this process too. Is that just because you played a position in high school doesn't mean that you're going to play that same position when you get to college, because a lot of college coaches are looking for people that are just athletic,
Hmm.
or they need a certain fit for a position that year, and you're going to have to mold you into that and create,
Hmm.
make you into that player. So can you kind of share your experience with that?
Yeah. So in high school, my sophomore year, I was our only catcher, and then I was our third baseman. And then going into CMU, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna play outfield." And I hadn't played a whole lot of outfield. I'd played a little bit for my travel ball team for Fire Sticks, just to kind of try and help myself because I knew there's a possibility I would be playing outfield in college. just because I consider myself a utility player. I could probably play any position besides pitcher. Um, that was probably never going to work for me, but I worked hard to try and learn a little bit of each position if possible. Because yeah, going into to CMU, and I think they told me ahead of time too, was like, listen, if you want to play, if you want to get any playing time, you're gonna have to play outfield. Like they had like 3 third basemen lined up before me. So I was like, well, all right, I'll do it. It was not an easy transition from high school to college ball because even okay, you think high school varsity level, it's pretty fast paced. College ball is even more fast paced, especially at the D1 level. And again, you go from being one of the like top players on your team in high school, which I wouldn't say I was one of the top players on my high school team. We had probably like I said, we had 7 seniors, and I would say every single one of us had a lot of talent. But you go from being like a really good player on a team that stands out to, oh, I'm an average player now because every person on my team is an all-star player. Um, and so I kind of had to accept my role because my freshman year, I was strictly a pinch runner. But I got my Letterman jacket because of it. I pinch ran in like every single game. I I don't remember how many. I could probably look it up. How many runs I scored? I scored in almost every game I pinch ran in. Um, had a couple stolen bases, but just being able to accept that role made it easier for me too, because especially on the mental side, because it was a challenge to be like, oh, I'm not gonna start, but also I'm a freshman and I've got 6 seniors on the team in front of me that I'd have to beat out. So like, yeah, I accepted my role, but it also made me work harder in practices and on off my own time to work to get harder so that way, oh, I did start my sophomore year. I didn't start every single game, but I started at least half of the games. And it was a way for me to, it was a big adjustment, and I think it helped me grow better as a person along with being with as a player.
Yeah. It was definitely a process to go through.
Yes.
And I know we try to tell our players, be patient, your role on the team this year, even in travel for your high school season, your role is this year.
Mhm.
And it's just the dynamics of the players that you have on the team and the talent level, but it doesn't define you as a person, obviously. You make mistakes, you need to grow. Again, it's a process, and then next year you're going to be stepping up in your role. What do you want to accomplish? You got to work hard at it. And a lot of times, I'll say unfortunately, but some of the most talented people I know don't have the best work ethics.
Right.
And the people with the work ethic eventually will catch up and surpass that talent.
Mhm.
So you can't depend on just getting by without putting in the work. But yeah, I think it's always interesting to talk about, what expectations somebody has going into college, and then how those
Mhm.
expectations change. And I know that workload and trying to balance all the time management kind of things, and
Yeah.
obviously student is a full-time thing, and then you're playing, and so you're working out. I mean, probably multiple times a day, weightlifting.
Mhm.
So like having a whole nother job on top of what you got.
Yeah. It was a big wake up call for me for time management because and that was something I was not good at going into college. I mean, I went from okay, I'm a high schooler. Yeah, I'm getting all my homework done, getting good grades. Okay, now you add, I have to get up and weightlift and condition four times a week at 5 a.m. And then, okay, you go to class at 8 a.m. until 2. Then you have practice at 2:30 to 3 o'clock. Don't get done till 6. You have to quick grab something to eat, and then you go to study tables because as a freshman, we had mandatory study tables that we had to get done every week.
Yep.
and it was hard. But again, I'm also appreciative because of how hard it was, and our coaches at CMU were very pro academics first. Like if anyone was struggling, like they're like, hey, you need to get a tutor. Do we need to have you do more study tables, like so you can focus more on your grades? Um, they they were very they really wanted us to succeed academically, almost more so than they wanted us to succeed on the field, I would say, honestly. But it was really tough. Like, and then it changed almost every year what our schedule was, just because of depending on like we had different teams coming in or different strength and conditioning coaches and what their schedules were, because our schedule in the fall was different than our schedule in the spring. Um, and so that was something to get used to, especially because we're traveling in the spring. We were gone every other weekend for 3-4 days. Well, you got to take your homework with you. You still have to get it done. Like there's no excuses. Like they're like, oh, we'd have study tables on the bus on our way to games sometimes, or to hotels.
Yep. It's one of the I guess one of the detriments of being in Michigan weather. You travel down south
Yep.
and you're on the road. Um, so with those challenges and everything else that was going on, and obviously, it sounds daunting to somebody that's getting ready to go to college or thinking about playing in college.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about, all of the stuff that's going to get thrown at you, but obviously it is doable.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were mentioning, you have a group of people, and the coaches want you to succeed because it helps them succeed, and your family's behind you. And then a lot of the players that we've talked to in the past, you get an entire, all of your teammates are there behind you
Mm-hmm.
to help reinforce and help you grow, and to give you that support. So I always think it's important to kind of just point that out, for young ladies, just that there is a network there to help support you, and you can talk about it during the recruiting process to find out more about the things you can do, like getting an academic tutor. Sometimes tutors come on the bus rides with you,
Mm-hmm.
and just to provide that additional support you need.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Our team, my teammates that I had in college were very supportive. They always pushed each other academically, and especially you'll have everyone will like there'll be not everyone has the same major, obviously, but they'll be like everyone has like the gen ed classes that every freshman or sophomore has to take before getting into your major classes, and everyone offers to help, like your teammates, like they'll offer to help you, they'll offer to be your tutor sometimes, and it makes it easier and more like it doesn't seem as daunting, like that you're not by yourself, you're not alone, you've got however many people. We had 26 people on our team, so you have 25 other people that are going through the same things you are. Some
Okay.
might be struggling more than you, some might not, but we're all willing to help each other out.
So how would you say your overall experience at CMU was? And did you mention that, was it your senior year at CMU that was that you guys accomplished some additional things, or any particular year that was better than another with your
um
experience?
Actually, my sophomore year was probably the most that we accomplished. I shouldn't say accomplished, but like we won the MAC conference that year.
Okay.
um Now, do I think any of our other teams were more or less uh like had more talent than the other? No, it's just the way that games happened to fall those years. I will say freshman year probably was the worst experience I had. It was kind of a toxic culture that we had on the team, because of some players, and but once then sophomore year we turned it around, we made the changes that we needed to change, and I'd say each year, like, it wasn't it was probably better and better, but sophomore year we accomplished the most by winning MAC conference. I mean, we made it to the MAC tournament every year that I played. So that, I mean, that's an accomplishment in itself, because I think they take the top 6 teams or something like that into the tournament, or 8 teams or something like
Yeah.
that. So, but sophomore year
Wow.
we had a really good culture with the team, and it continued each year after that. It just happened. Not all the games went the way that we wanted to, for that we needed to win the conference again and stuff like that. And other teams had built up as well.
Awesome. So what would you, obviously you went to school for, was it, the childhood education or early education?
No, actually, I went to school for photojournalism.
Okay.
Um, and because I graduated the winter before COVID, there weren't a whole lot of jobs available in that market for me, because everything was shut down. And so to kind of like just have a job and be able to make, I want to say make ends meet, but just to, because I knew I always wanted to get back into softball and coach and kind of give back to the game in some way. And I also have a sister that has some special needs. I knew I wanted to, if I could, it would be something, and I probably should have done this in college, and my mom still wants me to go back and do it, to get into childhood education and stuff. But I became a paraprofessional and worked at the Frankenmuth schools. So I work with kids with special needs, like they need extra help,
Yeah.
one-on-one. And it's great. This year has been tougher than most, but it's I really love helping kids, and again, goes along with coaching. Like, I want to see everyone succeed, and um, so that's another reason why I enjoy my job too, is helping them and uh, keeping them moving forward and getting the help that they need to. Um, and then yeah, I was also able to coach softball with for JV, and even now for varsity, even though it's in Saginaw, I'm still able to help out with that as well. And then
Well,
I'll do photography on the side.
yeah. Yeah. I think it's really admirable. And it's one of the primary reasons why, I used to be personally just a dad that coached, and it was to, provide and help provide structure, and it was more for my daughter. And then as the years went on, and I didn't have a daughter on my team, and I just learned to really appreciate, all of the girls that, it was important to me to see all of the girls succeed. You end up loving the kids, and they want to do well for everybody, and it's not always easy. There's different challenges that are thrown at you, between obviously just, growing up and maturing, but also when you get to high school, how do you deal with coaches? How do you deal with other players? How do you do those types of things? And it's something that's going to, obviously, a lot of great life lessons in softball, that I think it's really important for kids to be on at least some sports or activities and teams, because it sets you up in life to kind of deal with certain situations and have structure, learn how to have a good work ethic, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, great that, that's your driving force, that,
Mm-hmm.
you want to give back and help kids and help them grow. So I mean, I can see you definitely, you've been coaching a few years now. So what do you think about coaching, and your experience coaching at the JV level and now with the varsity level? And you've also, in travel, you've coached Now, I think it was, what was it, a 12U team, a 16U team, and an 18U team this year. How would you say that how things have changed over time and your experience that you've gained coaching? What do you like about, this experience, and where do you see things going?
Um, well, I mean, I love coaching any of the levels I've coached. I've always had fun with. The younger levels and like JV, you get players that have never played before, and I love being able to teach like the fundamentals and everything like that. But then it's also fun, like the older groups, okay, they have those fundamentals and mechanics. Now you get to really learn the game and work on your softball IQ, which is huge. Um, I mean, I want to keep coaching. It's fun to watch the girls learn to love the game and fall in love with the game like as much as I do. Or I do because I still play actually. Still playing slow pitch. Even now I just played a tournament yesterday actually, but it's something that never for me never went away. I know there's some of my college teammates that are like, I can't touch a softball. You get burnt out, and I strive to be a coach that doesn't make you lose the love of the game. So if that ever happens, I hope someone tells me so I can change whatever I'm doing wrong. But
Yeah.
and I just want to keep learning the game, because even though yeah, I think I know the game pretty well, there's some things that I don't know still, and I still want to learn that and keep progressing as a coach. And now I don't know that I'll ever coach college. It'd be nice to, but I don't know that that's necessarily something that's in the cards for me, I guess. It'd be great to. I'm not opposed to it at all. But until it comes to that, I am very happy just coaching travel ball and high school ball. Um, and high school's been big because it's not like you can't recruit players for high school. So
Hmm.
it's fun to see how far your teams come from the beginning of a season to the end of a season,
Yeah.
and see how their hard work has paid off. And same with travel teams too. I'm teams like I know my 16U team last year, they did not look like the same team that we had at the beginning of the season at all, and it was really cool to watch them grow as a team and as players, each individual one.
Yeah, that growth is awesome to watch, and just seeing their reaction, the understanding that they can achieve anything if they work hard at it.
Hmm.
Basically. Well, we're at the point right now to do kind of questions and answers. Throwing it out to the group, and I can obviously throw a couple more questions at you as well. But I'm going to turn it over to the group. Um, does anyone have any questions for Andrea? Anything that you'd like to explore more, or just ask in general? It's not unusual to have a quiet group. Well, I definitely um, just appreciate your experience and what you bring to the table. Helping our players, and obviously sharing your experience is a big one. Um, what from your experience as well, can you kind of share with the group, you know, what kind of people or personalities are the successful ones on the softball field that you've seen? Like, what kind of attitude do they carry? Obviously, the work ethic, things that they do well, that coaches see them as a valuable person to reach out to recruit and to have on their teams.
um being selfless, honestly, putting others first, and just being able to like be the one that offers to help stay after practice and help pick up all of the equipment, help pick up the trash and make sure the dugout's clean after you guys play. The ones that are respectable as well to both players, coaches, and parents alike, is another big thing. Just college coaches are watching even when you don't know they are. Um, Honestly, sometimes like they might watch, they already know, have an idea usually of what your playing potential is, or playing talent, but they also want to see how your parents interact with players, coaches, and umpires, how you react, how you are able to like control, I don't want to say control emotions, but how do you show what you're feeling? Because
Yep.
sometimes if you overreact to something, yeah, we get like everyone gets upset. We get it, but it's also the timing that you show it as well. Uh but just, and then obviously having a good work ethic. And no, I'm not saying like if to be in college you have to spend every waking moment outside of classes and practices working on softball. One of the best softball players I know, who was my roommate, she didn't do extra stuff ever. But she, well, I shouldn't say ever. There was a handful of times over the 4 years that we would go and do extras, but she always made sure she was super focused in practice and worked on what they asked us to work on. And so just being able to stay focused for the time that the coaches ask you to be focused and to put in the hard work during that time, because everyone at that level has that talent already, but being able to have the focus and drive to put it into to keep working on what you're supposed to during practice is big too. So I know that a lot of times that's something that my high school team struggles with right now is staying focused during practice. They get distracted by one little comment and instantly go off on a tangent talking about something that happened at school that day. And we're like, hey, we got to reel it in. We're at practice now. We're not talking about what happened at school. We got to stay focused. And they usually they do a pretty good job of coming back, but it's the same as a college player. There's so many outside factors that affect you and your like mental capabilities of staying focused. And yet some days are harder than others. um the game is, I'd say, 90% mental, 10% physical, but working on that mental side of it is huge.
Yeah. Kind of like, you hear it over and over again, having a business mindset when you get to practice.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to have fun, and obviously communicate with your teammates. But when we're here, kind of like classroom, you're doing your class work. You got to be focused to learn. You can't be
Mm-hmm.
talking and listening at the same time.
Right.
But yeah, some girls, you can see it, especially based on my just travel experience, that you can see the ones that are coming and ready to go, and
Mm-hmm.
the ones that they're there but they're checked out. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely important to when you're being seen. And I totally agree with you about the you are always being watched and evaluated at all times. You go to a tournament and they might be there to see somebody else, but um, I had an outfielder playing for me a couple of years ago at a college exposure tournament, and the ball was hit into the outfield, and she took the play off. Like you could tell it was a
Mm-hmm.
not a full effort. And a college coach was standing around behind a group of parents, and she was there to see another girl that was going to go to her college. And she said it quite loud enough so all the families could hear it. Well, I'm not going to sit here and watch this. Basically just saying that why the heck didn't she go and get the ball?
Right.
And she got
Yep.
frustrated and she walked away. And, I shared that with our player, and these are things that we try to do as coaches and try to communicate. You know that that's not okay with me as a coach, and that we want you to give the things that you can control, which is
Mm-hmm.
giving me your best effort, and you're in a good attitude, and these other, and being a good teammate, these tangibles you can control at all times. And when you take it off, it's not just coach that's going to be disappointed that you just lost an opportunity at this college, and maybe you don't care. But if any college is at your game and they see you taking that play off, they're going to scratch you off the list.
Yep.
And maybe 99% of the time you're doing the right thing, but that 1% somebody was there watching.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to reinforce that. And then also how your family acts. If there is a negative atmosphere when you're coming up to watch a game, college coaches will not stay. They
Yeah.
pay attention to things like that.
Yeah, because it's not just you they're recruiting. They're recruiting your whole family. Who do they want in the stands? Do they want someone that's screaming at the umpire and at the other teams, or do they want someone that's sitting there respectfully and cheering on the team? I mean, it's not a hard decision there. Um, Another thing I will say is it's big for college coaches to see teammates being good teammates to each other, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
it's not. It's very hard as girls and women like that. We don't take criticism very well all the time, but we have to learn to take the good criticism from our teammates and from our coaches. Whether it's like, not everyone is out to get you and saying that you're doing something wrong. And this was something that it took me a while to learn. And I want to say I probably learned it best at my high school level, or even for travel ball with fire sticks with the teammates that I had. Help each other out. If you notice that someone's not listening, just say, "Hey, listen. We got to listen to coaches talking. We're not talking. We're listening." Or say, "Hey, if you notice that they're doing something in a drill wrong that the coach didn't catch, say, 'Hey, I think you should do this instead.'" And then if you're the teammate that they're talking to, be like, "Thanks, I didn't realize it." And if it's something wrong, ask a coach about it. There's no wrong questions in softball as a coach. Like, I love when my players ask me questions. Um, but we need to learn to be able to take the criticism, good or bad, a little bit better. And now it does depend on how it is told to us.
Mhm.
Tone matters. Don't like be yelling at someone, obviously. Like, even just say it one on one with them. You don't have to say it in front of the whole team. But that was something that I realized was big going into college, was we held each other accountable. Um, in fact, we actually had a system where we would earn our flying C's by holding each other accountable, holding ourselves accountable. Um, and there were a couple other things that we did too. Being a good teammate was one. Um, and it was a cool system. And I really hope to see more players uh, being good teammates and holding themselves and others accountable too in the game.
You can't take it personally. Exactly. Because as coaches, we see that happen sometimes in the dugout, and sometimes on the other side of it, players get confused, like you're saying, with the tone.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're trying to be leaders, but they're doing it the wrong way, and we're trying to help make them adjust. And those are always challenges as coaches that we have, trying to get everybody to understand that we all want each other to succeed, and it's not anything personal. So,
Mm-hmm.
and some players, like they gravitate towards somebody for lessons that's a female versus a male, or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa, just kind of based on those personal things to them and how they receive information. But just like in life, you might get a job and you don't have the choice on the job, if your boss is a female or a male. So you got to learn to roll with the punches and get the most out of it. So um, that's one of the things about trying to help players grow. it's always challenging and motivating people too. How do you keep that good energy and stay positive and come out consistent, every game, or translate what you're doing in practice to the game? And
Mhm.
can you, I think some coaches these days, I call them the old school coaches, the ones that try to be, they're a little more, I'll say it's a negative way, that they are meaning it in a personal way to push buttons
Mhm.
to motivate people by, getting them angry or getting them upset. And, I really dislike those types of tactics. It's more bully tactics with kids. You see it a lot of times in high school ball and some travel ball.
Mhm.
Um, and one of the things I like about travel is it's a little more professional in a lot of ways. And, obviously you want to have coaches in a program that are doing things for the right reasons. They want to help the girls succeed. But, those are always interesting things to me, just, those types of dynamics. And then, trying to help players navigate that and learn from it. Um, and it's hard. It's really hard. A lot of times, especially with this generation that's out there right now, the first thing they want to do is, if they don't succeed, they want to check out,
Right.
because they just look at the failure, the momentary failure, in not, the big picture, that, this is only one time that you failed, and it's going to happen. And how do you deal with it? And overall, you're still a good player, and you can still do a lot of things successfully, but you got to have that big picture in life as you're going
Right.
through it. Are there any other questions in the group? You have anything, Jason? I'm just going to call Jason.
I know you're calling me here, Scott. No, I don't have anything. Not right now.
Okay, no problem. All right. Well, Andrea, we appreciate your time, and, in sharing, this with our players, and we're going to post this on our YouTube channel. And it'll be something that, obviously I'm going to reinforce with our players to watch and to listen, and, try to glean, something that you can learn from as they're moving forward, like I hope all the other coaches will in our organization. But yeah, thank you for your time tonight, and I
Yeah. Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having
And congratulations on your pregnancy.
me.
And
Thanks.
yeah, that'll be another, curveball in this whole dynamics of coaching, working, and
Yep.
having a
Yep.
baby. And yep. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the whole process, and having a kid. It's fun.
Thanks. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Congrats, Andrea.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for watching.
You're absolutely welcome.